look, do you see? It's a caravan, sound the trumpets, open the gates. Ali Baba, Ali Din, Sinbad, she has arrived, the goddess is coming, the goddess is coming.
We conquered these Arabian lands, trotted these desert sands, and they said we wouldn't make it, but we came this far, and we were destined for greatness, and we study Allah, what a beautiful oasis, and we adoring Amin Ra, see the melanin on our faces, on my back my scimitar, for whatever we be facing, and though there's mental scars, right, left, we still pacing, I see the ancestors, the DNA is so sacred. I hear the echoes of their heart, the remnants that we chasing, we them hunter-gatherers, and we still stargazing. We gave them the arts, taught them science, showed them place. We the origin, the start, all the facts, you replaced it.
With fakeness, believe you could emanate the true greatness, but there's no way you do it, cause we fluid, we all druids. Moving back to nature, from government prefectures, regenerate our centers under divine mentors. Deep in the mother triple self is what you'll enter. Take a couple breaths, gather that time, space, and gravity. Master the anatomy, realize your full capacity, regaining status naturally through all our ancient magistry. Now you see, that should be the earth, moon, and stars. Elephants in the jungle, sangria, weaver bars. Time to reclaim the nation, trust the steps are not that far. I'll show you through demonstrations, so make knowledge your new rudiment. Yeah, cause everybody on a paper chase. We are humans, everybody makes mistakes, but what we doing to the planet, it just makes disgrace. We in a rush, haste makes waste, so pump your brakes. The pollution building up from state to state, the dirty water, wasted lakes. Wave it straight, cause God laws I would hate to break. The one who makes the thunder claps and who shakes the quakes. I can't stand these politicians and their face they make. Their plastic smile is drastic, wow. And when you see them in real life, they can't look you face to face. Instead of doing something, they deciding great debates. Taught us Christopher Columbus, but he ain't a saint. My ancient race is heavy like a crate with weights, yo. These lames is corny, for fame and glory. They'll do anything, wait, let me explain my story. No apology, and I ain't saying I'm sorry. Carry on tradition, like the ones who came before me.
One love to Bob Marley. We need a revolutionary army with the heart of Marcus Garvey. How they wanna charge me? They say no weapon against me should ever harm me. Keep thinking it's a game until they tax the winnings off for your lottery. What they stole from my people was more than robbery. Why I can't count on this economy? You need to study your astrology. They try to get me off their trick psychology, but I study the principles of isonomy. You need to look in the mirror, because this man right here doesn't bother me. These foreigners thinking that foreign's free. There's no pale pirates in the Red Sea.
Original Gandu Masala. Think clean when I'm living in squalor. Think large when I'm ballin' on a dollar. Ain't shit changed, got lyrics falling off the collar. Transport me to the heights like I'm on a trampoline. Greasy fast food and the smell of gasoline invades my mind space while I penetrate a dream. Inception of a past life buried in the seam. Mixed with kush crumbs and a piece of carrot muffin. In unsane mode, words speak phrases, no bluffing, no tussing. As letters fall like rain, no cuffing. Falling for another one, another proposition, a viral affliction, another distracting and demonless vixen. And maybe bring things that I never planned for. But in the state of Al-Marak, it seems I always plan more. And yet I spend less, so when I count my losses up, I know I've always been blessed. And I stay less stressed. It's not the dough or the weed, it's that love, truth, peace, and freedom seed from the freedom tree, the one next to the tree of life. In the garden of light, I shoot my heart through the mic without a shell in the air, as we magnify time as it enters your ear.
Islam. Peace and love. Welcome once again to Canaanland Moore's Tuesday class, 27th of December. It's about to kick off once again, as usual. You know what I mean? Doing what we can, get information to our people so that they can realize that this is Birthright. This is not some club. This is not come join and be a Moor. This is birthrights. This is nationality. This is history. This is law. Right? It's a fact. It's a fact. We want to, of course, give our honors to all the Moors worldwide. who are continuing to study self and finding out the truth about their nationality and their birthrights, and you know what I mean, based on what they find out, they exercise what their 5 senses, you know, some people who have 7 senses or whatever, you know, basically do. You know what I mean? They're doing what it is their higher self dictates. We want to start off today with a reading, because remember, I was talking with brother Misery Mel about, you know, 2016 being the 9 and everything's over. Like, everything's over. You have billionaire guy president, right? You have George Bush doesn't like black people, but you know, Trump does. You know what I mean? You have people going in madhouses and stuff like that. So, you know, you have people got dye hair and stuff like that with beads and stuff like that, talking about their hip hop and all that. So you know stuff's over right now, right? So we're about to, you know what I mean, get thrown out this catapult. You know what I mean? Because the real throwing out the catapult is gonna be in March. You know what I mean? This throwing out the catapult is just gonna be, you know, warm up. So all the stuff that you thought was legit and real and all that stuff, all those stuff is fake, right? All these different communities and all that, and all these different celebration of stuff and all that stuff, everything is about to get thrown out the window. And you're going to have to go back to the ways of ancient foremothers and forefathers, whoever those people may be to you. We're gearing people to look at their Moorish foremothers and forefathers. You know, as things begin to topple over, go back to what they presented to the world in order to help yourself and family and whoever else wants to be helped. We had a presenter of certain things to us that, you know, a lot of people don't want to talk about. They don't want to bring him up, and if they do bring him up, they just bring him up on some BS, like he's just some black guy, right? Noble Drew Ali had, you know, many things that were written, and there were things that were written for the members, and there were things that were written for the nation. And you basically take your pick as to where you're going to sit with regard to this Moorish movement. You could either be a member and stay in belief, right? You can be a Morisco who knows that there's something bigger that should be happening and going on, but it's all right, you know, we'll just sit here and just wait for the grand whoever's to set up the bureau of whatever for us to be Moors, for us to be free, for us to have some kind of connection to the government, for us to Either you're part of the nation or you're a member. And keep in mind that members are part of body politics, which are part of nations. So there's no escaping, but you know, they have few days left. They have few days left because they're on their fiscal mindset. So there are a few days left to You know, get their little ducks in a row before this thing kicks off. Right? Remember, the people who already know that March is really New Year, right? 31st of January, 31st of December going into January 1st is going to be the catapult into or toward the direction of whatever, for those people of that mind. So Noble Joe Ali said, plea to the nation. And remember, he's talking to the nations here. He's talking to nations. Right? Now, why is he talking to nations? Why isn't he talking to members in this? Like, if we go through the literature, right? If we go through the literature, the Moorish literature, right? In the name of Allah and Ali, Islam to all. Not talking about members. Right? He's talking to everybody. What is Islam? And what is Islam to Moorish Americans? What is Islam to Moorish American Muslims? And what is Islam to the Moorish Science Temple of America members? What is Islam? Straight to the point. Joe Ali speaks to the nations, needs strong men and women. Speaks to the nations. Prophet plea to the nation. Divine instructions from the Holy Prophet. What shall we call him? Divine warning by the Prophet for the nations. Religious controversy. Kavit M. Tor. Prophet announces his authority. Prophet has spoken. Think this over, you Moors. Not think this over, you Moor Science Temple of America members. Because remember, these are the same people that say you're not Moor unless you're in the temple. Okay, so who's he talking to? If he's saying think this over, you Moors, and he's not saying Moors of Moor Science Temple, who's he talking to? If he has a writing called think this over, you Moors. And then there's specific reference point to when Noble Joe Ali's talking to members, when he's talking to citizens, there's a distinction. So these same people who are in the Moor Science Temple of America are telling you that you can't be a Moor unless you go through those doors. Well, the individual who founded that, in his writings, he's talking about you Moors. And then in it he's referencing all sheiks, grand sheiks, all members, loyal Moors, heads of any said temple, grand body. We Moors, my mission is to save you Moors, to all heads of all temples, grand sheiks, sheikesses, members. So either members are Moors as well, because remember, because they always say, well, you're not a Moor unless you're in the temple. Okay, well, Noble Joe Ali's making reference to members and Moors and sheiks and grand sheiks and whoever else. Right? Now we're going to read Prophet's plea to the nation. Our divine and national movement, first line, our divine and national movement, not our Moor Science Temple of America. Our divine and national movement. Off the bat, this is Noble Joe Ali talking. Making reference to the divine and national movement that None of these grand whoever's have jurisdiction over it. Only the prophet. They can talk big and all that stuff, but they don't have no jurisdiction. Right? Because they've pushed so much more science temple. They've pushed so much more science temple of America and left out everything else, that now that all the foundational things are bubbling to the surface now, people are seeing really how expansive what Noble Drew Ali brought was in the 1920s. Right, so he's talking about the Moorish Divine and National Movement. This is 1929, March, months before he's assassinated. Our Divine and National Movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I, the prophet, am applying to all loyal. So all loyal, so that's one set of Moors. Faithful Moors. So faithful Moors is another set of Moors. Members, which is temple people, whether it's Moorish Holy Temple of Science or Moorish Science Temple or Moorish Divine National Movement or whatever, Women's Auxiliary or Supreme Council or whatever it is, the members of that. And the American citizens, which is everybody who is Aboriginal and Indigenous to the Americas. When he says American citizens, he's not talking some U.S.A. citizens or U.S. citizens. They ain't no citizens for no U.S. anything in 1929. So remember they're bankrupt at this point. To help me in my great uplifting acts of uplifting fallen humanity among the Asiatic nation. For I have suffered much and severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. So he suffered because of misunderstanding of what the movement is dedicated to. The misunderstanding could only come from individuals who are on the inside and were supposed to put this information out. The individuals who were on the inside are who caused the suffering and the severe suffering based on this misunderstanding that was put out about the Moorish movement. It is the great God Allah alone that guides the destiny of this divine and national movement. It is the great God alone that guides the destiny of the Moorish movement. So if the great God alone guides the destiny of the Moorish movement, who guides the destiny of the Moorish Science Temple? Because it should be mentioned. Because by the way, I don't think Allah would put somebody in a leadership position in the Moorish Science Temple so that they can replace Jesus with Noble Drew Ali and sing hymns. I can't see Allah being that shallow with the Moorish Science Temple. Because I mean, you know, we seen Moors do wondrous things with this birthright. If you ask the right Moors, there's Moors who's doing things with this birthright that if those Moors were to present more of their life, you know, because, you know, sometimes some people, this is personal. This is not teaching classes and all that stuff. This is life. They're not putting their life online and all that stuff, but, you know, it'll help if you have some experience with regard to your birthright to convince these people about the fact of what was presented by Noble Drew Ali. And that everybody knows. Everybody knows about Noble Drew Ali and Moorish Science Temple. Right? And they're not looking at it from that mundane perspective, like how you see these people, you know what I mean, pretending that that's what Noble Drew Ali brought. Right? The great God, Allah, alone guides the destiny of this Moorish divine and national movement. So anybody who you hear talking Moorish Science Temple of America, but they don't mention Moorish Divine and National Movement ever, all they talk about is Moorish Science Temple and when that was founded and all that, Allah probably doesn't guide there. And again, it's stressing the point that the priesthood is dead. That's why Allah alone guides this, because none of these incompetent people are worthy to guide this. They've been had this information for 80 years and nothing's happened with it. Clearly they're disqualified. And this is from back then that he said Allah alone guides this. So what happened to people? Where were people's minds at? If Noble Drew Ali said Allah alone guides this, then he gets assassinated. And then none of these people that claim to be the authority said that Allah sent them. They said Noble Drew Ali sent them. And then people go chasing after them. When Drew Ali told them that Allah guides this. So as soon as somebody comes talking up, so, yeah, I'm the guider of the Moorish, whatever, you already know that that guy's a fraud, because only Allah guides this. Yeah, well, Allah is in man. Again, you know, incompetent Allahs going to be talking about their runnings on. Right? You know, Allah is going to be telling people that get licenses. Which Allah is going to say get a license? Allah sends a guy and he's telling people get a license. Clearly Allah didn't send that guy. Obviously. Because license is a privileged permit. That doesn't come from Allah, because Allah deals with rights. So if Allah deals with rights, and Allah alone guides the destiny of the Moorish movement, and then Noble Drew Ali said nationality and birthrights and stuff like that, where you get away to think that this is some type of church, Moorish church? I know all true American citizens are identified by national descent names to answer and apply to the free national constitution of this free national republic of the United States of America. So the only United States of America that Noble Drew Ali dealt with was the republic one. That's the only one. Anybody pushing anything other than Republic, United States of America, and saying that you're citizens of U.S. and U.S.A. and United States Republic and National Republic of the United States of... These people are frauds. And immediately recognize that they work for the other side. Immediately recognize that they're Mariscos who performed a fake conversion that they're Moors. Pretend that they're Moors. They're not really Moors. They're Roman soldiers. They work for the other side. Make sure you don't have full control of your birthright. I mean, you think that, you know, you can't exercise your right. Not that you can't, or not that you shouldn't study before you exercise whatever right you're claiming to exercise, but the fact is that they've been playing games with your birthright. And have continually played this game that they're the authority. But Noble Drew Ali said that Allah is the authority of the Moorish divine and national movement. Like, Allah is the authority. No individual is the authority. That's just what it is. Don't get mad at me. I didn't say it. Get mad at Noble Drew Ali for putting them on blast back in in 29 before they assassinated him. Put them on blast on the public record too. So nobody can say they don't know. Nobody can pretend like they weren't told, because it was in the national newspaper, Moorish Guide, that went all over the country. We might even say the world, because if he knew people like Deuce Muhammad Ali and Ahmadiyya movement and all them people, trust me, they were getting their bundles and sending it back to wherever they were at. Trust that. Right? Because a quote-unquote black man wearing a fez telling people about Islam and trying to bring them back to their culture and that they're Moors and all that stuff, trust me, people looked at that like from the highest perspective when he presented that to these Negro, black, colored, African, whoever's out here. They recognize it, you know, and this, you know, more so Europeans than anybody else recognizes what he did. Right? For without a free national name, with a flag of your forefathers, there is not a national divine title of the government in which we live. This is from your true and divine prophet unto all American and foreign sympathizers. To all American and foreign sympathizers. When he was saying American, he wasn't talking about some Europeans over here that called themselves American. He was talking about all the Aboriginal, indigenous people that were on the continents of North, South, Central America and the adjoining islands before the European came here. And foreign sympathizers are the ones who are going through the same BS from the same tyrannical force that we're dealing with. You know what I mean? That know if we're in the BS, they're going to be in the BS twice as worse. If we rise, they rise. They know this. They're clear about this. Right? They are clear about this. All right? Remember again that the literature that Noble Drew Ali put out went public record. So nobody can say that they don't know. Especially people that are in Moorish Science Temple and all that. Now again, just to go back to how certain people aren't taking Moorish Science Temple and what Noble Drew Ali brought as some Morisco prey to Noble Drew Ali and stuff like that, right? So we're going to go to Jose Pimenta Bay, Othello's Children in the New World, right? Jose Pimenta Bay, right? Keep in mind that Jose Pimenta Bay is a PhD. This is what you would call a scholar, a real scholar. Now those fake people who say that they're a scholar and they don't have no degrees. Right? And again, keep in mind, you know, I mean, Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, get a good European education and I'll use you. And, you know, clearly he used Brother Jose Pimenta Bay to get this information out. Dowling himself, or this page 191, Dowling himself had most likely drawn from an earlier written source, and that is precisely what Irish-American researcher Peter Lamborn Wilson found in his research. In his more contemporary work of the early 1990s, Wilson traces much of the Aquarian Gospel and Moorish Quran's texts back to manuscripts found by Nicholas Nodovich, Notovitch, in a Tibetan monastery. Notovitch was a Russian Jew who converted to the Russian Orthodox faith. Notovitch published the manuscripts in 1894 after having acquiring them from Tibetan monks who had compiled them as the works of Saint Isa. Significantly, Isa is the Muslim Arabic reference for Jesus. Interestingly enough, Isa is also the Gaelic term for Jesus. In a move that seems somewhat paradoxical for an Irish American with a Christian upbringing, Wilson does not treat the MST movement as an oddball cult as so many other writers have done. In fact, Wilson himself recognizes Noble Drew Ali as an American prophet. Wilson tells us how he himself became a part of the Moorish Orthodox Church of America in Baltimore back in the late 1950s. The church was founded by European Americans and centered its teachings around the Moorish Quran, which Ali had introduced in the late 1920s. Wilson says of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Drew Ali was no flash in the pan. Moorish science is still alive. Drew Ali's faith behaved like other faith. As a student of the history of religions, I find it fascinating the development of Moorish Apocrypha. He continues, one might imagine oneself present at the first century Christianity or Islam. Moorish science admittedly transpires on a smaller scale, but displays structural and archetypical similarities to major religions, what are almost uncanny. Wilson continually lauds the significance of the Moorish science movement and teachings, stating the contemporary necessity of adhering to Ali's subtle message of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Wilson conclusively maintains that on the esoteric level, anyone who loves those 5 basic Moorish science spiritual principles is a member of the Asiatic race. These are European, Irish, American. Came over here, saw Noble Drew Ali stuff, and applied Noble Drew Ali's teachings to help out European Americans that are coming to America. Moorish Orthodox Church. The late Eric Lincoln's seminal work, The Black Muslims in America, is a good illustration of my point. Even in his 1994 edition, Lincoln refers to the Moorish temples as cults and pays inordinate attention to the history of past conflicts with Chicago police. Like Simpson, he too criticizes Drew Ali for having set up an organization which lacked historical validity. Lincoln writes, in pursuing his goal, Drew Ali did not allow himself to be troubled by the inconveniences of history. Both Simpson and Lincoln missed the extremely progressive outline which the MSTA has offered concerning Africana history, nationality, spirituality, and understanding systems of social control and oppression. Fortunately, African scholar E.U. Essien Udum's scholarly treatment is more on par with that of Wilson. Essien Udom. Essien Udom is more sensitive and more centered than Lincoln. In his work, Black Nationalism, A Search for an Identity in America, Essien Udom points out how Ali taught his adherents to reject the slave designates of black, Negro, and colored. Ali sought to free his adherents of their mental and spiritual subservience to what Isin Udom defines as the white center of power. Ali also wanted to bring so-called Negroes/blacks into the greater collective body of Asiatic peoples. This he sought to do by having his followers identify more with the term Asiatic. Isin Udom also cites how Ali told his members that so-called whites should be identified by their particular European nationalities, as this was far more semantically and historically accurate than the general term white. Isin Udom's essay is clearly one of the better ones, for unlike Simpson and Lincoln, Udom's never argues that Ali's use of the term Moor was historically irrational or inappropriate. But where Udom's runs into trouble is when he states that for the MSTA member, the Moorish nation is Morocco. Here he obviously misunderstood the MSTA's position, but C. Eric Lincoln and several others had made the same mistake. In truth, Morocco is simply viewed as one Moorish nation. More specifically, it is the country which presently stands as one autonomous remnant of the former Moorish imperial dominions. In fact, much of the Americas are seen by more knowledgeable members as having once been a part of the Moorish Empire. Othello's Children of the New World, Jose Pimienta Bay, PhD. You think he knows what he's talking about. And again, when you read these reference points from these individuals, you recognize that somebody has been presenting this thing to the masses like this is some drawing up thing. Somebody's presented this to the masses from a perspective that gets the masses to abandon this themselves, thinking that they're only abandoning Morisco's temple because those guys over there, they didn't want me to come in there or whatever like that, right? And directly abusing the power, because they can't make claims of Moorish Science Temple, right? Not talk about nationality. Have the people come there, think that it's church, and leave. And then that's just cool. That people have a choice, they can do whatever they want. No, the people saw your BS that they're doing in some of these temples. And again, when they give up on the Moorish Science Temple of America, they give up on their birthright. It's the same thing like we talk about with Elder Pleasant Bay. You know what I mean? That instead of dealing with the Moors and exposing the Moors who are the corrupt people in the seats of Moorish Science Temple, you just to hold Moorish Science Temple under the bus. Instead of dealing with the individuals. Because there's court records. You got taken to court and stuff like that by Moorish Science Temple of America people. Well, again, because they're playing this thing as a club, copyright this and that. You can't use this. You can't say that you're this and that. You can't whatever, right? But the time is coming now. Again, we're dealing with 2016. 9. After 9, it goes back to 1. Because it's over. And they know it's over. That's why they're going so hard right now, trying to recruit. They got the young ones now in the front, making claims, making YouTube pages so they could leave messages and stuff like that on people's videos, and making Facebook pages to go, and making Twitter pages, and all of a sudden y'all interested in letting people know about their birthrights now? Where were y'all 10 years ago? Where were you people? How come you had nothing to say 10 years ago? All of a sudden now y'all got something to say. All of a sudden now they got stuff to say. It's too late for talking. Ball's already dropped and all that stuff. You know what I mean? You hang it up. Right? And again, another European, Peter Moon, Montauk Book of the Dead. Right? And this is from the chapter or the appendix, Moorish Science Temple, page 450. Juali began to promulgate Moorish science and was far more successful than anyone could imagine. Although Juali has a very thick FBI file, historians have made a gallant effort to remove any trace memory of him from the history books. Not surprisingly, the FBI has not released all the information they collected on Juali. It is also a matter of public record that the FBI bird-dogged the movements of the Moorish Science Temple very closely. In 1929, Moorish science had undergone such a huge renaissance that this new movement was to experience a horrendous version of Armageddon. Different people within his own brethren tried to seize the considerable power, including financial accounts, that Juali had accrued. Violence broke out and the police became involved. As a result, Juali spent several days in jail and was questioned, some say under harsh and torturous conditions. The latter has not been confirmed. Throughout the ordeal, Ali directed his disciples to be kind and non-violent. Although he was reported dead, history has offered no evidence of a funeral or gravesite. This death is shrouded in mystery. His death is shrouded in mystery. Right? And these people not even trying to figure out what happened to him. You start asking questions about what happened to stuff, what happened to certain people, they don't want to deal with it. They'll deal with everything else, but avoid the stuff that you need answers on. Right? Thomas Jefferson. A departure from principle in one instance becomes a precedent for a second, that second for a third, and so on, till the bulk of society is reduced to be mere automations of misery, to have no sensibilities left but for sin and suffering. Right? And then that's Thomas Jefferson. And then Noble Juali came after him and said, I came here to remove from the sins that you got. Nah, you know, I hear him. And then now, you know what I mean, Mecca is murder capital of the goddamn world and stuff like that. And all these, you know, things relative to Noble Juali and Moorish movement is boarded up or bought out by somebody else, turned into something different, and people playing like everything's cool around here with these people. Following the path of least resistance is what makes rivers and men crooked. Following the path of least resistance, the path of not study, the path of let's just go to the temple with our fez in a bag and just sit, listen to the Grand Sheikh, and then the Grand Sheikh says, when we all say our Islam more, ooh, yeah, he said something deep and we broke down the Quran and all that stuff, and then we just go home, and then that's it. We're not Moors until we go back to the temple. Following the path of least resistance is what makes rivers and men crooked. Don't get lazy. Oh man, I don't need to read nothing today because, I read 5 stuff yesterday. Don't get lazy. Because we've seen the least resistant path. Because the least resistant path is where all the opportunists are at. The least resistant path is where all the schemers walk and traders grin. The least resistant path is where more than likely you're going to end up abandoning your birthright and then complaining about something happened to you, or something happened to something, or something. One more in here. Well, anyways, this is the thing that ate the Constitution, Robert Anton Wilson. TSOG is Czarist Occupational Government. Something like that. Czarist something. So we have this theme of not we have this theme amongst the Moorish movement of some people want it to be passive. And the passive position, nothing wrong with it. There's some people who just aren't built to last. Cool. Ain't no issue. Right? We also have, the dirty people who, not lump everybody in one. There's specific people who are dirty people. Right? Now, people get mad because, it seems like Cujo thinks, everybody's a dirty Moor. Well, it's not me, it's your actions. It's not me, it's the way that you talk. Right? Keep in mind that when we lost power, the last time we lost power, our last stronghold in Granada, when they expelled the Moors and the Druze out of so-called Spain, remember, some people decided to chill. Some people decided to ride with the licenses. Right? Some people decided to take the position of, well, we're under occupation, so it don't make no sense fighting or whatever like that. Let's just, get them to recognize that we are somebody. And throughout the history of the expulsion of the Moors, there's documented history of Morisco towns where, unless somebody told on that town or whatever, unless somebody told on them, right? The crown wasn't going to go check on them, see what they're doing, and are they Christian and stuff like that. So they had the ability to govern themselves, even though they were Moriscos. right? Even though they got baptized and converted to the religion of their conqueror, when they finally settled, they weren't under the jurisdiction of the conqueror. But they wanted to be Moriscos. They had the ability to govern themselves. But remember, they also had all these edicts over their head about they can't be called Moors and they shouldn't be called Moors, and call them Moriscos now, call them half Moors, call them little Moors, because they got conquered. And the little Moor mentality is still around today, mainly in Moor Science Temple of America, where these people have taken this conquered position, right? No different than the Negro, black, whatever, beating the head with the Bible, and then all of a sudden they're singing hymns and stuff like that, not beating no drum anymore. Same thing going on with some Moor Science temples. That they're camps to keep you Morisco, keep you converted. So remember, religion that is not for the upliftment of somebody's, spiritual fortitude is meant to enslave. If they're not raising you up with the religion, the only other thing that it is for, other than that, is to enslave. Right? Now we're gonna read a little bit of Morisco, Spain, from Spanish Inquisition by Henry Kamen. Right. In the crown of Aragon, over which Ferdinand ruled, there was no comparable pressure on the Moors. The principal reason for this was the great power of the landed nobility and the authority of the Cortes. On the estates of the nobles, the Moors formed a plentiful, cheap, and productive source of labor, from which the expression arose, more Moors, more profit. Whether to placate his nobility or in pursuit of a moderate policy, Ferdinand repeatedly warned the inquisitors of Aragon not to persecute the Moorish population or resort to forced conversions. The Moors therefore continued to lead an independent existence until the outbreak in 1520 of the revolt of Comuneros, Cuneros. Simultaneously with the uprisings in Castile, Valencia experienced disturbances of its own. Here the rebels, grouped into Germanias, Germanias, or brotherhoods, organized an urban revolution directed against the local aristocracy. Valencia had the largest Moorish population of any province in Spain. The Moors were almost exclusively a rural community and were subjected to the big landowners of the realm. The Germania leaders saw that the simplest way to destroy the power of the nobles in the countryside would be to free their Moorish vassals, and this they did by baptizing them. The years 1520 to 1522 in Valencia thus witnessed the forcible baptism of thousands of Moors. The defeat of the rebels by royal troops should in theory have allowed the Moors to revert to Islam, since forced baptisms were universally regarded as invalid. But the authorities were not so eager to lose their new converts. The Inquisition in particular was concerned to hold the Moors to the letter of their baptism, to the argument that the conversions had taken place under compulsion. The standard answer was one again given, that to choose baptism as an alternative to death meant the exercise of free choice, which rendered the sacrament of baptism valid. The Inquisition was therefore ordered to proceed on the assumption that all properly executed baptisms were valid. The task now was to save the Moriscos from relapsing into their old faith. So the policy of the Inquisition is still in play right now, where they have these forced conversion Moorish Americans who appear to be for Moorish nationality and birthrights until you pass that threshold into that realm. And you realize that it's Moriscos. Now remember, the Mariscos themselves formed a plentiful, cheap, and productive source of labor. Right? The Moors therefore continued to lead an independent existence. These are the converted people. So why is it that the converted people, why is it that the people who came from Negro, black, colored, became part of the Moorish nation, declared their nationality and all that stuff, and then 1929, after Noble Drew Ali passed, all these people just go back to being Moriscos, and you don't hear one peep from them. And then the head people have the authority to exist independently as Moriscos, as people who are passive and they're too punked out to even face the beast system and stand up on their rights, even in the position of them being beggy to U.S. to recognize them. They still have the power to be independent and are choosing to not be independent. Right? Are choosing to not assist people in their affairs outside of quote unquote more science stuff. Oh no, you gotta deal with that or whatever by yourself. Because the idea of having people, because remember they said either you're going to be Christian or death. I'm dying more. Forget about conversion and stuff like that. I'll see you in the next lifetime, or I'll see you in your nightmares haunting you. But forget the conversion. And again, we have the people who converted, and under their conversion they were supposed to be an independent state still, under their conversion. The fact that Castile and Valencia had large new Morisco communities plural, made it incongruous that the Moors should still be tolerated in the province of Aragon. Charles V finally, on the 13th of September 1525, issued orders that Moors were no longer to be tolerated in Spain except as slaves, and measures for their conversion were to be set on foot. This was followed on the 25th of November by a decree for the expulsion of all Moors from Valencia by the 31st of December, and from Catalonia and Aragon by the 31st of January. The unfortunate Moors came forward in their thousands to accept a religion which they neither believed nor loved nor ever intended to practice. So how did these Moriscos end up adopting hymns into Moorish Science Temple? If the Mariscos if the Mariscos had no belief, they didn't love, and they didn't intend to even practice the stuff that they were converting them to, how did they get so far to where they take out Jesus' name, put Noble Drew Ali's name there, and then now that's being Moorish? Isn't that just Christian in Moorface? Isn't that just Roman Catholicism in Moorface? Isn't that just the house Negroes in Moorface? Pretending, doing things under the guise that they're for the upliftment when really they're for the enslavement. That's why we tell people that some of these Moorish Science temples are plantations. No different than a reserve. The exact same thing. The point is to get people corralled and have them have this concept of be inside this building means that that's where I'm whatever. When it doesn't have to do with building. Right? By 1526, Morisco, Spain was a reality. Within a few years, it had become a problem of major dimensions. For the Inquisition, the primary problem lay in the fact that the Moriscos had been converted by force and had therefore never been more than perfunctorily catechized. No proper missionary work among the population was undertaken, and many parishes lacked clergy completely. In Valencia, many Moriscos spoke only Arabic and knew no Christianesque, but even those who spoke Valencian considered Arabic their mother tongue. So the Moors get run out, right? These are for the people who take this approach of, passivity. Well, we can't, and we got it then, and where's the this and where's the that? So that we can, when are we going to build a Moorish this and when are we going to do? Everything was done already. Our position right now is to exercise. History tells us that even under conversion, we still spoke Arabic. We still practiced our culture. There was no missionaries coming around, knock the door, kiss the cross and stuff like that. I thought this was a conversion. So remember when Noble Drew Ali told Moors, those who were with me 2,000 years ago, with me today. Those who were against me 2,000 years ago are against me today. The Moors who were Moriscos thousands of years ago are the Moors who are Moriscos still today. But the ones that are around today have lost the fight in them. They become docile because they keep thinking that this European has a government in the Americas. And they keep thinking that this European could make people citizens and issue licenses and issue passports and do these things without it being under color of authority, color of law, color of anything else. They really think that these Europeans have the authority. They're really going to go on the news and say out of their mouth that Moors should pay taxes to the IRS, which Europeans know the IRS is not real. They have nothing to do with government and none of that. And we're not talking about no sovereign citizen Europeans. Regular Europeans know this. But you have a renaissance happening right now. Because remember, they don't have too many places to turn with regard to justifying the BS that they've been doing for the past 80, 90 years with Moorish Science Temple. They don't know where to turn. All spotlights on them right now. All spotlights on them. And they got the hand in the jar. You know what I mean? Full hand in the jar. Can't even pull your hand out. Right? Red-handed. And again, when the people start realizing for themselves that, oh, history really does repeat itself. Like, that's not just some stuff that they're talking about or whatever. That's not just some statement people throw around. Like, that's real. The same Inquisition practices that are going on back then, same stuff going on right now. The Inquisition practices against the Moors, right? If you know, you go to a store, put down your nationality card. Now we can't accept that and kind of whatever like that. That they try to convert you to being a taxpayer. That's Inquisition. Remember, you know, it's occupation. And, you know, there's many stores around here, so, you know, big deal. No patronage. Go to somebody else. He's not going to argue with people who are fully entrenched in the system. You know what I mean? We're not talking about people who are just lightly bleeding through the system. You know what I mean? That, you know, they'll tell you out their mouth, oh, well, you know, if you pay cash, no tax. Oh, well, I wasn't going to pay tax anyways, but all right, if that's what the deal is, then fine, sure. I'm game with that. Right? Always know yourself in order to know others. If you don't know yourself, then somebody play you into getting a license, put your bay on a license. Then that means you're more because you're based on the license that the colonizer has. Put your bay on the corporate documents. Right? Now, you know, reservation of rights. Do your thing. Ain't no big deal. Once you know how to live within contracts, half the people don't know how to live within contracts. If they would even put it out there, hey, Moorish Americans, you know, we don't believe with that right to travel and all that stuff, but you should go get a license and reserve your rights on those contracts when you get those licenses. There would be no issues with Moors who are in the temple and Moors who are, you know, out of the temple. There would be no issue. But they don't study. So reservation of rights is something that doesn't even come up. Again, play everything back to the history of this these Morisco communities in Spain, right? Remember, they're under occupation, just like we're under occupation right now. The Morisco community is the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's supposed to be a safe haven for you to go to, where you can still practice your stuff even though you're under occupation. Your stuff is Islamism. Islamism is not change Jesus to Noble Drew Ali and have people sing hymns. That's not Islamism. Islamism isn't dissing astrology. That's not Islamism. Islamism is not dealing in a cult and having crystals and prayer beads and making sure you have your silver on you and stuff like that, and you know that all that stuff is Islamism. But they'll never go there with the people. As soon as they go there, that means they're freeing them. As soon as they start telling people about, it's really not about the temple, really. It's really not about that. It's about the nation. It's about the people who don't have this information. It's not about the people who have this. People who have this need to be going to the people who don't have this to let them know about this. Oh, but they can't do that because, you know, Grand Sheikh's supposed to be the one. He's a representative of the Moors. Grand Governor is the one who does the talking because he's the guy, you know, the position of authority and the stuff like that. Like we said, when we came in, there was Moors who had to go get permission from their Grand Sheikh for us to get a Quran. Like, these are the things that we were dealing with, this Morisco behavior, right? This always want this individual's foot on your neck. Don't want to get up. Always want to be slumped over so they could play board game on your back. But you guys done? Can I get up? When it's about independent, fearless, self-governing. And the individuals who are supposed to emulate that, the leaders, weren't. They were dependent, fearful. You got people around today, more grays now than they were when they first got into the stuff, and they're still in the seat. Some of these people think they're so smart, they even clean off their facial hair and clean off their head so they don't have no grays. Which means, you know, they don't gotta go in the back. And then new Moors with their eyes wide open are sitting there letting that BS go on. New Moors with their eyes wide open, right? Who have the literature that says new Moors are going to come with their eyes wide open, seeing and knowing, put the old Moors in the back, carry out their law. Okay? So they're going to carry out the law. But in order to do that, you're going to have to put the old Moors in the back. Why? Because they weren't carrying out the law. That's why they have to go in the back. But they're still around here pretending like they got some authority. When Allah alone guides the destiny of the Moorish movement, not Grand Sheikhs, Grand Governors, and whoever. They might guide the destiny of some club that they're part of, but they don't guide the destiny of the Moorish movement, much less the Moorish nation. So don't be fooled into thinking that they do because they say Moorish Science Temple. That ain't no authority. That's some 11-month-old thing that it's still a fetus. We talk about give the fetus a fork and knife at dinner time. What are you talking about? Moorish Science Temple of America is the youngest branch of Moorish Divine and National Movement. How they get so big and important and strong, and they're 11 months old. You find me 11-month-old, toss up 25 pounds at them, see what happens. But you talk about 11-year-old, 11 months old. He's strong, came out the womb strong. No, he didn't. Stop lying. You know. By now, Moorish Science Temple of America is supposed to be important. These people had 80 years to do what they're supposed to do with Moorish Science Temple, so that it could be in line with Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Divine National Movement, Moorish Nation. 80 years they had to get their stuff together, get their stuff in order. Drawley even told them, lace up you guys' shoes, yo, I'm coming around to check, see what's going on. These guys didn't take that serious. Clearly, they didn't take that serious. It's very obvious that they didn't take what Noble Drawley brought as serious as Peter Lamborn Wilson did Moorish Orthodox Church people and all them. They didn't take it serious at all. And if they don't take it serious, you won't take it serious. Why won't you take it serious? Because those guys are the heads, and they're laying with this. Then who am I to rush and want to do stuff and whatever like that? But you know, the temple is a nest that you're supposed to get kicked out of or whatever, and then you're supposed to flap your wings. That's supposed to be in the temple. It's like with brother Shifter, right? You know, he's, you know, been to Earth so much that it's like tedious now. It's like, oh, I'm here again. God damn it. And then, you know, whenever he comes to class, he comes. Because he already knows. If I have to go listen to the Grand Sheik, then I have problems with self that I should be working on first before I even go talk to Grand Sheik and sit down in class and stuff like that. You know, like he says with questions, you know, yeah, nothing's wrong with questions, but, you know, do people even question their self? Like before they, you know, I just want to ask you a question about whatever. Did they ask self the question first? Just to see, you know, just to see where it might lead. You know what I mean? And all these things are relative to Islamism, Moorish science, Moorish history. Why? Because as Moors, we're not supposed to take this passive position. Like, do you understand how much power you have if you are under occupation? These people are killing you, and they're still letting you talk your own language and stuff like that, and they're not even worried about what you guys are doing in your own community? That they just occupied, kick you out of your stuff and all that stuff. You create a new community, right? You get kicked out of where you're at, you go somewhere else, create a new community, and then flourish there. You know how powerful we are? Under occupation, which we're under right now, which is why Noble Drawley did everything that he did, so that we can still be able to exercise as Moors even under occupation. Why? Because he had the history to know what had to be done. And the reoccurring threat, of people's birthrights is these traitors in this movement, whose job it is to make sure that the water is muddy, so you can't see the bottom. You know, they want you to see what's at the bottom. They don't want you to explore the regions and the caverns of the mind. They want to control that. When we know Moors who they know about their nationality and birthrights, and they study for themselves, they have a totally different energy than somebody who's looking at this as some religious movement that Noble Joe Ali founded for Moors to be, you know what I mean, good citizens because, you know, things are going Islamic and we need to line ourselves up with Islam and all that. Now, he brought you back your birthright. He brought you back the fact that this is your land. This is your estate. Ancestral at that. Not even just your estate that you just got yesterday. This is your ancestral estate. Noble Joe Ali put that in your Quran. That this is your estate. Vast estate. That you will regain in a battle that cannot be told in words. That you will regain in a battle that cannot be told in words. You will regain it. You will regain it. Whether you want it or not. You're going to regain this birthright. How you do that? Knowing. By studying. I don't take that Annie the L stuff light about, you know, she just said study because that's a cool thing to say. No, she's actually serious about that. Like she's serious. And remember, she's mother and stuff like that, so, you know. It's different coming from moms. Play around. Pops go pop, BS, all he wants or whatever. When mom says that it's about to go down, it's about to go down. You're worrying about pop slicks. They're worrying. They didn't even know. There's not even nothing even. Pops ain't nobody. Moms, that's the cut ass you don't want. Moms want. Right. It is estimated that some 300,000 Moriscos were forced to flee Spain amid great suffering. Spain's rulers, according to historians, became convinced that Moriscos were neither good Christians nor loyal subjects. For that reason, they were accused of conspiring with Spain's enemies. Doesn't that sound familiar? Isn't that the same thing that they tried to do with Noble Joe Ali and talking about these Japanese and stuff like that and Vietnamese and they giving stuff Viet Cong and all that type of stuff? They're the same stuff. Trying to tie Moors. The people who, these guys said that they were allies and then they betrayed them, then they became their enemies. Now all of a sudden, oh, these guys are working with our enemies and we need to do whatever. Right? History repeats itself. History repeats itself. Well, if you don't know history, then you're going to be repeating some stuff that could be prevented if you would have just studied, like the man told you. Stuff would be avoided. Because history repeats itself. So it's the same stuff that's going to happen again. It's not even... How do you think they control quote-unquote black people so easy? Because the same stuff they're using, Christian black codes, they ain't even change nothing. Because hey, these people want to be black. Alright, well, we already got stuff ready for them. Oh, you want to be Negro? Oh, we got stuff ready for that. Oh, you're African? Oh, you know, we got Leopold, all that stuff. We got Mussolini, all that. We got mad examples to use to subjugate you if you want to claim you're African. Both prejudice and fears that the Mariscos would eventually turn traitor contributed to the decision of Philip III to expel them in 1609. Remember, we're talking about 1492 is when they kicked everybody out of Spain or whatever. 1609, they're still dealing with trying to get people out. 1609, they're still expelling people. 1609, from 1492 and 1609, they're still trying to get people out. Again, because what we read earlier. Because they didn't see them as no threat. Why would they see them as a threat? They're converted to whatever. They're no threat. We baptized them. They're Christian. But they were independent. And even under occupation, they maintained. Okay. Spain undoubtedly suffered economically as a result of the loss of its Morisco workforce. Despite that, the country experienced a sense of euphoria after the Exodus. For many Spaniards, say the history books, the very presence of Moriscos, whose religion was suspect, had been a long-standing irritant and a cause of national shame. Now that irritant has been banished. The leaders, the population in general, and the church rejoiced that the pure Catholicism had at last been restored throughout the land. Same thing going on right now. Either be black or die. Either be black or get your ass kicked. Either be black or get whatever else we're about to give. This is how they've been getting down. And our issue is that ones on our side that want to not recognize that even though we're under occupation, we have the right to self-autonomy. We have the right to that. Like it's a right. Absolute. Despite the legislation, many, perhaps even most of these individuals held firm to their former beliefs, practicing dissimulation, a practice legitimized by the 1504 fatwa. The 1504 fatwa by the Mufti of Oran, Ahmed ibn Abi Juma, and adhering in secret to their cultural and religious practices. Those who were discovered were subjected to interrogation and torture by the Inquisition before being executed. At least several thousand individuals were subjected to this over the course of the 16th century. Around 1566 to 1567, additional legislation was introduced that essentially banned many of the cultural practices of the Andalusis, including their dress, names, traditional festivals, and even dances, while any use of the Arabic language itself, whether written or spoken, was officially criminalized. This coincided with an increasing amount of repression against the Moriscos in Granada, where, along with the Kingdom of Valencia, one of the biggest Andalusi communities in Spain resided. This led to the outbreak in 1568 of a major rebellion in the Kingdom of Granada, which then spread to the Apujaras Mountains and lasted until 1571. there's an example of the mass baptisms. Right? And I'll do one by one, so just sprinkle olive. Sprinkle olive. If you get sprinkled on, now you're a convert. Oh yeah. One more chapter in this right here. Systematic decline of the Moors of Al-Andalusia. Jose Pimenta Bay once again. The subjugation of the Andalusian Moors was a systematic and lengthy process, but systematic symbols of this decline are seen in the 13th century when the Moors were officially designated in Catholic dominions as Mudejars, Mudejars, meaning tamed, and Moriscos, little Moors or new Christians. In 1268, civil legislation urged their ghettoization, and by 1335, church synods had adopted the policy. Between 1322 to 1465, several laws were passed by Catholic Spanish authorities that prohibited Moorish surgeons, physicians, and pharmacists from practicing their professions. In 1412, the Moors were denied access to mercantile enterprises. Moors could also no longer work in the fields of carpentry, shipbuilding, masonry, ceramics, dyeing, and tailoring. This prohibition of Moors from medicine, shipbuilding, and mercantilism again implies that there was a significant Moorish presence in those fields. Although the Moorish, and keep in mind, that's why Europeans speak about, how Europe felt a BS after the Moors left Spain or were kicked out or whatever like that. Because all the doctors, carpenters, everybody with every possession, 80% of the profession was Asiatics, Moors. So what's going to happen to your society when all those people leave? Right? Although the Moorish Islamic presence clearly threatened Catholic European power, some Catholic officials like the Archbishop of Toledo, Francisco Ximenez de Cisneros, clearly saw the value of their erudition. Cisneros knew that much of the Muslim scholarship was vital for Catholic Europe's own societal and technological growth. Consequently, he actually transferred several scholarly Moorish texts to Catholic-controlled schools such as the University of Alcalá de Henares, ALCALADEHENARES, University of Alcalá de Henares, which he founded. Reclassified as Moriscos, these new Christians with infidel blood were now treated with increasingly vicious contempt. These little or reduced Moors, as they were now called, became ever more intolerable to the Catholic powers. So they convert them, reclassify them, which is supposed to be the point, you know what I mean? Get them not to be Moors. Call them something else. Okay, so they call them something else. And then they're still going on with the campaign still after? How powerful were you, Moors? Like, what were you really wielding as far as power is concerned, during this time of your expulsion, not the time of when you were ruling stuff, after they kicked you out. And you must have been a big deal. For them to say, we're going to change your name, do that, put out all the edicts, make the whole land know, don't call these people Moors. Okay, so they did that. Baptize these people, tell them they can't control, they can't have their own religion, blah, blah, blah. Did all that. Right? And people still couldn't stand Moors. After they did all that, people still looking at Moors like, can't stand these niggas. Everywhere we go, there they are. I thought you guys got rid of them. I thought you exiled them from out of here. Why are there so many still around here? Right? And this is the same issue that the people who set up the infiltration are having with the late people now, who are the babies that are grown up now from the infiltration. How come these people are waking up more to the fact that they're Moors? We own you, Moriscos. You're supposed to be dumbing people down. People aren't supposed to be not coming to the temple. Why are they not coming? Like, we can't dumb them down if they're not in the temple. Only when they come into some of these temples will they be able to be dumbed down. Because remember, they're trying to get the masses. They don't care about who knows this. They're trying to influence all these YouTube studiers out here. The weak minds. Who don't have it in them to pick up a book and study. But they'll go on YouTube for 5 hours. Watch some videos. But they won't read a book. And if they do read a book, you know, it's just to say they read a book. They're not studying. They don't got the dictionaries piled up while they're reading the book so they can look up every word and stuff that they don't know and all that. They don't do none of that. Right? Ironically, the great religious and cultural tolerance that the Moorish Muslims had shown to their Catholic subjects, Catholic Christian subjects and vassals, was not equally reciprocated. Ironically, the great religious and cultural tolerance that the Moorish Muslims had shown their Catholic/Christian subjects and vassals was not equally reciprocated. So you can't say that the Moors were the slave traders of the blacks and the Africans and the whatever, because we got proof right here that you could be a subject and a vassal of the Moors and be happy. You don't have to live in filth and all that stuff. We got castles and stuff like that. Why would we let you sleep in a doghouse when you could have a bed on the floor? Oh, you never seen a shower before? Never seen paved sidewalks and air conditioning and stuff like that? You need to come where the Moors rule. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter. You could have any religion. But trust me, you want to come see where the Moors rule. Because Catholics, Christians, slaves, vassals, subjects, nobody was complaining when the Moors ruled. Nobody's complaining. In Christian and Moors, it's a book by Colin Smith. In Christians and Moors, editor Colin Smith informs us of how Christian subjects of the Muslims had enjoyed relative liberty and tolerance under the law. This was in stark contrast with the period of Catholic domination over Muslims and other religious quote-unquote heretics. Historian Joseph McCabe speaks of delighted crowds of Catholics tearing open the bellies of accused heretics in several Catholic-controlled kingdoms. There is also the vicious intolerance of the Roman Catholic Church against the Cathar Christians of southern France, Cathar, Cathar Christians. The Cathars would suffer a holy crusade against them under the direction of Pope Innocent III in the 13th century. New piece of info. New piece of info. In spite of their contributions to Spanish and Portuguese cultural development, the Moors were removed from this land, stripped of their property, and often physically brutalized in the process. In 1480, the Inquisition was established to oversee conversos and eradicate heresies. This Gestapo-like organization held vague and unrestricted powers. Sounds like some people who we know claim to have oaths and bonds and all this type of stuff, and all they're doing is just violating people. Gestapo-like organization held vague and unrestricted powers. Accused persons were actually considered guilty until proven innocent, and the accused person's property was permanently confiscated to defray court costs. Make sure you get Jose Pimenta Bay's book, Othello's Children in the New World. Needed. For anybody who says that there's more, you need that. And then you can there's a book, or there might be a PDF online called Medieval Encounters. I think it's like a magazine or something. And Medieval Encounters number 15 from 2009. Medieval Encounters 15, 2009, page 313. It enabled Christians in 13th century Castile to dismiss as foreign the substantially mixed Andalusi Muslim population to their south, as well as Castile's own Muslim populations, and to disregard the extent of social and cultural ties among all Andalusis, including Muslims from Africa. Christians longing for a world of religious, cultural, ethnic, and political unity rather than diversity, effectively interfered with and rewrote the cultural history of the peninsula in accordance with the policy that they not only imagined for themselves, but they constructed for their new religious and linguistic community. And the article is by Professor Ross Brann, R-O-S-S-B-R-A-N-N, Ross Brann, and his article is called The Moors. That was in Medieval Encounters 15. The decree of September 22nd, 1609, from His Majesty to the Kingdom of Valencia with regard to, getting the Moors out and taking the lands and taking their this and that. letter from Francis, Frances, de Alva, Dealava, Spain's ambassador in France, to Philip II, 1568. Letter from Francis de Alva, Spain's ambassador in France, to Philip II, 1568. The Moriscos and the 20th century. Are the Muslims unassimilatable? The Mariscos and the 20th century. Are the Muslims unassimilatable? Professor Consejo. Professor Mercedes Garcia. Mercedes Garcia Arenal. Arenal. Mercedes Garcia Arenal. And Brother Amin Brooks had put on the record some YouTube videos dealing with various factors of vaccination, etc. So we'll just fly through some of these and you could write fast. Vaccination, the silent epidemic. Vaccination, the silent epidemic. The greater good. Shots in the dark. Vaccination, the hidden truth. Vaccine nation. Wonder what their flag is. Vaccination, the truth about vaccines. Lethal injection. Deadly immunity. Autism, made in the USA. That one there is not cool. Autism, made in the USA. Beyond treason. Trace amounts. Why we don't vaccinate. Autism yesterday. Denmark documentary on HPV vaccine. Denmark documentary on HPV vaccine. Vaxxed. VAXXED. Man-made epidemic. 50 cents a dose. 50 cents a dose. Direct orders. Direct orders. DTaP. Vaccine roulette. DTAP. Vaccine roulette. ROULETTE. Truth Stream News about all those vaccines. Truth Stream News about all those vaccines. Hear the silence. Hear the silence. So there's some DVDs or some YouTube videos for you to get your little vaccine game. Get your vaccine game up. Questions. Islam more melanated Moorish empress I came across a New York Times article regarding the Federal Reserves. Apparently, after being in Manhattan since 1914, they are moving to Chicago. Everybody's getting to Mecca. All the Mecca Moors, they're on the way. They're on the way. Brother Yusuf Matadi L. Islam, give thanks to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. A testimonial. While at the grocery store, waiting in line, Fez is up, I noticed the cashier kept looking at my Fez. When my turn came, she leans over and whispers, "Excuse me," and starts to look around and says, "Are you a prince?" For a moment I paused and said, "Huh?" She leans over again and whispers, No, you can tell me." I was just standing there and then it hits me. Yeah, I am. As I came back, I said to her, "I am." She smiles and bows and says, "I knew you were." Islam to all Moors. Islam to all Moors. So don't forget, these people know that. These people know, right, that we're the royalty. They know that we're back. They know that we're not Negro black colored and that we're coming back to our senses. So honors for Moors who are active, and honors to Moors who are active, honors to Moors who are taking the position of standing up for your birthrights. You know, we definitely are learning. You know, we definitely are learning from what Noble Drew Ali presented to us, and then we're taking this information that we're learning, we're coming to understanding of what it is, we're experimenting, we're practicing, and coming to the conclusion of really what is it that this individual brought. Like, did he really bring what we're supposed to, you know, like, did he really bring what these people are presenting as what he brought, or is there something that's a little bit more needed to be looked into? Because for a brother to go to a store and then the people in the store are recognizing him as a prince. No, it had to be because he had the fez on. Like, it can't be any other reason. So how is it that her reference point of a fez is royalty? She didn't ask him if he's a Moorish Science Temple member. How come she didn't ask him if he's a Moorish Science Temple member? How come she didn't ask him if he was from one of these Moorish clubs out here? How come her reference point was royalty relative to Moors? Right. Anyways, got a video sent called "The Truth Concerning King James," and there was a There was a note on this video. Your video is confusing. Hebrew is just a language. Israelite is a nationality tied to the land of Israel. Are you saying that we should call ourselves Moors or black, grouping ourselves with all people of color in Africa or the Middle East? There are different families among the dark races, just like there are different races within the Caucasian race. Nation means race. Same thing. I'm trying to understand you. I believe that you have been speaking to the wrong so-called Israelites. Oh no, the Israelites that I speak to, they know that they're Moors. They proclaim their nationality as Moors. They still speak, Hebrew, and they still got their Hebrew Tanakh, and they still do all their quote-unquote Judaic rituals, but they know they're Moors. And clearly, by these people talking about black groups and dark races and color people and nation means race, and clearly, they need some guidance. We would suggest that you go to rvbaypublications.com, right? You go to Hebrews and Moors are the same people on YouTube by Taj Tariq Bey. And recognize that the only way Israelite is a nationality is if you can pull out something to prove to me that you're Israelite. Just like we can pull out something to show that we're Moors, and then a driver can pull out something to show that they're a driver, and whoever else is going to pull out something to show that they're whatever. Okay, whatever it is that you claim to be, you should have that in documented form, whether in paper or card, to prove that. If you don't have that, don't be talking about that your stuff, and don't be telling me about Yahweh got your nationality and all this stupid stuff like that, because we're not buying it. Sorry. I'm gonna try again with them ones, because Allah doesn't have we're Muslim. Allah doesn't have my nationality card. I got my nationality card in my pocket. I don't know what type of Yahweh y'all got, but the Hebrews who I know, Yahweh doesn't have their stuff. They got a nationality card in their pocket. And they're Hebrew. And there's some that are NOI, and there's some that are Nation of Gods and Earths, and there's some that are Rastafarian, there's some that are Garveyite. But then there's others who they don't get it. Whatever. No hands. I've been hearing a lot of debates about nationality doesn't work, and how can we fill out paperwork and expect the same government that brutalized us to respect the paperwork? Correct me if I'm wrong. We're not asking them for anything. We're just putting them on notice. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. Why? Because Sundry Free Moors did the same thing. Put them on notice. We're not going to be tried under your Negro Acts because we're Moors. So treaties apply to us. Constitutional law. What are you talking about Negro Acts? We're not Negro. Put their status on their record. Save them and their wives by putting their status on the record. Right? So people who are, we expect the same government. Governments don't brutalize people. So as soon as you start talking crazy about governments are brutalizing you, then we know that you're probably mental slave. We know that you're probably running off of emotion. Your tank is full of emotion, overflowing. And you need to get that emotion out your tank and deal with the facts. And the fact of the matter is that the people assuming that mercenaries are government is why they get abused. And then they keep assuming that mercenaries are government and they get abused some more. And they keep assuming that highwaymen are law enforcement, and they get abused some more. And they keep calling people presidents and whatever like that. Like that's some type of title of somebody who runs a country or whatever, and they get abused some more. And then when somebody comes and says, you know what, in order to stop the abuse, you know, you got to correct your status, because the reason why you're getting abused is because not only are you assuming that those people are government, but you're assuming that a person is a living entity. When a person is a corporate ward of the crown, of the state, of whoever has jurisdiction over that ward. Oh, and then if you live in a ward, then you're a ward twice. So they can keep playing that it doesn't work, and you know, why would a paper work and give me rights and all this type of stuff. That's how incompetent people talk. You know what I mean? You know, we put the information out. If they want to study, they're going to go study and find out and know what we know. If they don't want to study, they won't find out, and they're going to be debating about more is this and more is that, when they haven't even studied to know what they're not talking about. Right? And keep in mind, once again, the classes, the Great Seal classes going on, make sure you get yourself lined up, you know what I mean, to get it in, because these are going to be beneficial to you. Trust that. More book at activemoors.com. Send an email so you can sign up for the classes starting up, Circle 7 classes, Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America classes. Right? More book at activemoors.com. Just send an email and you'll get all the information that you need in order to, you know, get that going on. And don't forget, MHHS, Eyes Wide Open, on Blog Talk Radio at 9:30. Call-in number 319-527-6751. 319-527-6751. blogtalkradio.com/MHHS-Eyes Wide Open. Alright? They are going to be going in as usual. You know what I mean? The sun's present. You know, a little backup. Mothers don't need no backup, but you know, we'll be there holding it down. So Islam to all the Moors worldwide. Islam to the Moors that sent their questions and stuff like that. Peace and love. Honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali for the great work that he's done in bringing us into the marvelous light. Don't forget willofallah.com for the hip hop music. Don't forget Wisdom of the Womb album dropping very soon. Right? Wisdom of the Womb album. Album. But it's dropping, right? 3-disc, 11 songs per disc, you know what I mean? Keeping the gateways open with the 33 and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Right? Doing what we can for the nation with regard to hip-hop. willofallah.com, it's going to be there soon. And don't forget, khalifamedia.com. Get the book, the new book, Watch My Prophecies, outlining some prophecies of Noble Drew Ali, and did they happen or not? So people can, you know, recognize that he actually was a prophet, not just some stuff more saying or whatever to try to be religious, like it's real stuff, right? So again, Islam to all the Moors, peace and love. We'll connect again in about 20 minutes. We'll just close out with the prayer. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. Islam. Peace and love, Moors. You know, we got a little close out something. A little close out something. This is the youngest artist. Actually, no, the second youngest artist on the Wisdom of the Womb album.
To reclaim the American dream and reaffirm that fundamental truth that out of many we are one.
You hear that line? Line's for you. Don't make me laugh. We're one people. It's a myth created by Thomas Jefferson. Oh, now you're gonna have a go at Jefferson, huh? My friend, Jefferson's an American saint because he wrote the words, all men are created equal. Words he clearly didn't believe since he allowed his own children to live in slavery. He was a rich wine snob who was sick of paying taxes to the Brits. So yeah, he wrote some lovely words and aroused the rabble, and they went out and died for those words, while he sat back and drank his wine and f***ed his slave girl. This guy wants to tell me we're living in a community. Don't make me laugh. I'm living in America, and in America you're on your own. America's not a country. It's just a business. Now f***ing pay me.
The best things in life are free.
It's time to wake up, don't be stuck in a state of sleep, walking around like some sheep. It's time to wake up, don't be stuck in a state of sleep, walking around like some sheep. It's time to wake up, don't be stuck in a state of sleep, walking around like some sheep. I pray to God, got my soul to keep, cause tomorrow ain't promised and neither is eternity. Consumed with your lives, either working a 9 to 5 or grinding hard just to stay alive. I understand, but sometimes I wonder why some don't take the time to stop and think about the cause before it becomes a crime. I'm a leader, not a follower. I don't run with the crowd, trying to make wise decisions, hope will make my mama proud. I'm trying to keep thinking positive, but too much it is bringing me down. Holding my rage till I blow, then you'll be hearing a sound. Ignorant people thinking my talk is cheap. I only do it cause I care, I'm not trying to preach. All I can do is drop some jewels, a few hints here and there, cause they won't say this on TV. Do your research and prepare. Trying to raise my daughter right, but hell's on earth, so too much shit's in plain sight. It hurts more than giving birth. Sometimes I wonder why, what really is the worth. I'm struggling to survive and I'm feeling so much hurt. It's time to wake up, don't be stuck in a state of sleep, walking around like some sheep. It's time to wake up, don't be stuck in a state of sleep, walking around like some sheep. It's time to wake up, don't be stuck in a state of sleep, walking around like some sheep. I pray to God, got my soul to keep, cause tomorrow ain't promised and neither is eternity. Mass destruction, the government's in charge. They know they're gonna fall, so they wanna hit us hard by depopulation through the food and water. And what about the skies? Chemtrails be taking over, crisscrossing, spraying lines of death all over our heads. The air we breathe will soon be making us dead. Sometimes I sit and wonder if y'all really taking it in. Who else is looking up high and within? I don't know how much more I can take, cause knowing so much shit makes me aware and awake of all the evil that surrounds us. And too many people faking all around us, preparing for their fate. Too many people programmed to live this life of fear, so they follow by the rules and get chips in their ears. But in that I don't condone, cause I see it and I know that this life ain't what it seems, and there's enough shit still unknown. I got a problem where I tend to worry a lot, but nothing else will change unless you give it a thought. I'm trying to help you and help me and everybody through the words that I speak. Stop fighting for the madness and money. It's time to uplift one another. Ain't a damn thing funny. Look out for each other, all our brothers, all our sisters. Let's rise up, protect one another. It's time to wake up, don't be stuck in a state of sleep, walking around like some sheep. It's time to wake up,